And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great conversation today. We're going to talk a little bit about how President Trump has been given the power to continue his work with the RIF, that's a reduction in force in the federal government workers. Also, we're going to talk a little bit more about Brandon Johnson. He held a press conference, and we want the people of Chicago to see that there's something seriously wrong with him. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Thank you. And folks, thank you. And folks, welcome to the show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. But first, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua of Nazareth, for making it possible for me to be here. And welcome, folks, to the show. Well, folks, here we are at this particular time and juncture, especially here in Chicago, to the American people and patriots across this country, especially Black Americans in the major blue cities. We need to pay close attention to the type of leadership that the Democrats are bringing to the table. Brandon Johnson here in Chicago has continued to just spiral downward every day. When he's asked the questions, he cannot even answer it, because if he answered it, it would incriminate himself on the things that he's done against the citizens and against the state of Illinois. So what we want to do today, we want to continue to bring this situation to you, because just like they did with the election that they stole, they pounded the American people with transgenderism. They pounded them with the New World Order. So we here at the Let the Truth Be Told are going to pound the American people with the truth. We're going to show them exactly what's going on in our country and who the people that really are that's destroying this country, and those who say that they got our backs, which is the Democratic Party, Black Americans. They have our backs with knives in them. And the saying that, let me bring in my co-host, Doc, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Doc, thanks for showing up for the show. Now, we've been covering Brandon Johnson. Not that we just want to pick on this guy.
No.
But we want the American people to see exactly how incompetent that he is. See, it's one thing that when you don't understand the job, then you shouldn't be in it. As an employer, I would never hire anybody who could not fulfill the duties of the job that I was offering. And that's what happened to here in Chicago, to the Chicagoans. We elected a person that had no clue on how to run the city. He had no clue on organizing. He has no clue on financial responsibilities as a leader. All of these things have to be in place if you expect for your city or any government or state or organization to be ran. You have to have a leader that know what they're doing and have some type of structure so that they can be prosperous, whatever endeavor that they're doing. And clearly, Brandon Johnson does not have those skills. He's turned out to be a liar. He's a thief. They've been stealing money from the taxpayers ever since he's been in office. It's all been a very, very deceived process on how he's done it. Doc, what do you think about him? Because I'm going to get this clip queued up because I want the people to see there's something psychologically wrong with him. There's
Well,
been rumors he's had panic attacks. He's having anxiety problems. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But go ahead, Doc, while I get this clip queued up.
yes, because I think he's a former educator. And I do remember following some of his campaign, when he was running against Lori Lightfoot after the debacle that happened with her. And he was he really ran more so on a trust campaign. Like, I know this person wasn't able to do it, but I can do it. I have success in the educational field. And he really duped a lot of people
Yes.
and convinced them that he was going to be a better candidate.
Sound like
And
Barack Obama.
unfortunately, yeah. And, unfortunately, he had the backing of the Democratic Party. They backed him with the money. They backed him with, different people endorsing him.
Teachers Union. Yep.
He did. He really had the backing. So a lot of people were like, well, let's give this guy a chance. And as soon as he got in, everything was falling apart because he really wasn't who he said he was. And this is what makes it bad for anybody running for political office, right? Because when people get burned so badly and they don't know who they can trust, it's difficult for someone else to come in because they're like, we've already been lied to. Well, what's your track record? And I think that's something that people are going to start to have to look at, especially in Chicago. You've got to look at track record. What has somebody done, proven, time tested, and you can go to someone that they've actually worked with, like a real human, right? Not a whole bunch of commercials and these blanket endorsements, but really go to somebody and say, hey, you've worked with this person. What success were you able to get working with this person? I think that's what it's really going to have to come back to.
Well, I think that this is a pattern that the Democratic Party uses, and I want the American people and patriots across this country to just think about what I'm saying here right now. Barack Obama used the same tactic on the American people, especially Black people. He came out. He never answered questions directly. He came out with this whole facade that he is a great leader. He has done all of these things. He was a great organizer. He didn't. He got his butt kicked when he ran against Bobby Rush for the state senator seat. It was just so many things that the Democratic Party is doing that's being deceiving, and they're running off Barack's blueprint. You just come out, you never answer the question, you talk about things that's not pertinent to what you was asked. I mean, it's all about the stalling. And at the end of the day, you start acting like you're a great civil rights leader when you get yourself to going and believe in yourself and all the stupidest stuff you're talking, while people are still there watching you, thinking, Brandon, people are watching you, asking themselves, what the hell is this idiot talking about? That's what they're saying about you. They're not, they know you are incompetent. I know you watch the show, but you act like you don't, okay? People don't like you. They know you're a liar. They know you're incompetent. All the things you did with the city council, the monies that you've gotten from J.B. Pritzker and all the other little inside donors that you have, let me send the message to you straight to your face. You will not be the mayor next time. That's my job. It's over, dude. Don't nobody want you no more. You haven't progressed the city. You haven't created no economic wealth. You can't even stop crime. You just went through 3 mass shootings in a weekend, and you walked around talking about the city and safe and affordable. You have lost
That was
your
killing
mind.
me. I was like, the city's safe enough. I was like, Chicago has never been affordable, first of all, and safe is the last. They made a whole movie called Chirac, bro.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
All right. Well, it's another activist called the Father Flager, he's a parasite in the Black community. That's all he is. And he pushed he's not a man of God because he pushed the homosexual LGBT crowd. So Father Flager, a shout out to you. God ain't got nothing good for you as long as you're doing the wrong things, as long as you keep pushing homosexuality. And oh, by the way, the 2 boys that you raped, they told the truth on you. But the point that I'm making is this. We have all these washed up politicians. We have all these washed up activists in the blue states. And Black people are suffering like hell, and they only come out when they need to get back into office, or they have an agenda that they're trying to push across and get the people to accept. So that's why I'm telling Black Americans across this country who watch this show, it's time for us to get rid of all of these politicians who do not understand, nor do they have the best interests of the people in these cities at hand. The Black community cannot continue to go down this road because, look, if you look at the Black family structure, it is gone. It's just a few Black families that are still keeping the traditions and values of raising their kids, holidays, coming together. That's washed out. There's so many single moms. There's homosexuality. Our young men don't know how to be men. That's right. They don't know how to be men because they haven't been taught. You know, our sisters don't know how to be wives. Nobody's communicating. Everybody is getting to bump and grind and running off, and the Black family structure is dying.
Yeah. And
if Black people plan to be, if you ever look at Star Trek, you don't even see Black people in the future. Think about that. And that was made a long time ago. But the point that I'm making is... There was
like the lady that liked Spock. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lahura.
It's just her.
Lieutenant Lahura. She was from somewhere else. I just saw that same show last night. You talking about it. But the point that I'm making is to our people, Black people, this is a wake-up call for us. This is really a wake-up call because we can see that we cannot trust either party, but the party we know that we have experienced who have done all these horrible things to us has been the Democratic Party. And yet we see all of these diversions. You see Epstein's list, that was a diversion. You see P. Diddy trial, those are diversions. All of these things are diversions to keep the American people mind off what's going on, because now that the Democratic Party done got busted, then they got to create diversions because President Trump has got a big win and he's going to start cleaning house. But first, let me finish Brandon off. I want to play this clip, Doc, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Real Chicagoans tell me that they're disturbed that you would spin multiple mass shootings over the 4th of July weekend as some kind of victory for your policies. River North, Southeast, brutal mass shooting, made the St. Valentine's Day Massacre look like child's play. Obviously, people are asking, how could you, after not one, not two, not three, but 4 mass shootings, go to NASCAR, put on the NASCAR costume, and grin for the cameras?
We work hard every single day to ensure that people are safe in this city. Any shooting, any homicide is one too many. And as we continue to work collectively with our shared responsibility to ensure maximum safety for all of Chicagoans, our work is never finished.
That is a pocket response.
If you truly believe that Chicago is the safest.
Doc, respond to that, please.
That was a whole pocket response, because it didn't matter what question he was going to be answered. That's what he was going to say. That's called a script, everyone.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Response. That's a script.
And he's just reading right off the paper. Now look at his eyes.
That's it.
This is why I look at people, man. He doesn't have a clue, and he's reading off the script. See, this is what the people of Chicago need to continue to see, and this is why we do this, because we don't want you to forget when you go to the polls the real type of person that's already in office, and we cannot afford another 4 years of a Lori Lightfoot nor Brandon Johnson. Let's finish off this, Doc. I got some good footage for you.
City, and unlike people around the country who are saying that Chicago is the mass shooting capital of the country now.
Just to follow up.
Would you and your wife Stacy be willing to cut your security detail from 150 sworn police officers and put those police officers back on the street where they can protect real Chicagoans?
So we're very proud of the work that we're doing collectively to ensure that our police officers have the resources that they need. As I've said repeatedly, it's policing and affordable housing. It's policing and youth employment. It's policing and mental and behavioral health care services. It's going to take all of us, the business community, the philanthropic community. We're working collectively with Cook County government, the state of Illinois, the state's attorney as well. The volume of cases that we are pushing towards the state's attorney so that we can continue to close out these cases as we really drill down with our detectives division as they solve crime, as they get the evidence over to the state's attorney, gives her the ability to make the prosecution so that we can continue to deter crime in the city of Chicago. That's a holistic approach that we're taking. Thank you.
Doc, okay.
He's confused. Like, again, it doesn't matter what question he's asked. He's going to read from the script. That's it. And to your point, Barack Obama did the same thing. And everybody's like,
yes,
he's
he
such
did.
a great orator. I was like, he never answered the question.
This guy sitting up here, he went to a whole different, he said, the question was, are you going to cut your over 170, almost 200 police, your personal security detail, and put those officers back on the street for the people?
Yeah, he went to a whole
yes
different
or
soliloquy.
No. See, and so that's what I'm getting. That's why I'm doing this, because I want, especially Black Americans in Chicago and across the country, to see the type of leadership that's in our country right now. These guys do not have a clue. They don't care about the American people. They're reading a script, and they haven't done anything, Doc.
No, and they don't plan to. They really don't intend to. They really think they can lull the people to sleep at this juncture because they've been doing it for so long, and they're taking advantage of the people.
And it's an unrighteous. See, this is unrighteous type work that Brandon Johnson is doing. It's all about the one world order and how they're trying to dominate and psychologically attack us on the mind to make us think that, it's the Republicans who are doing this. All this is under Democratic leadership, man. And these things right here, because you're not going to see this on ABC. What we're doing, you're not going to see the type of receipts that we're putting out there to our listeners and to our viewers, because on Doc's show, the same thing. Who did you have on your show this morning, Doc?
I had Judge Joe Brown on this morning to talk about Title 8, Section 1324. And a lot of people don't know that is the bringing in and harboring certain aliens is a U.S. federal law that outlines criminal penalties for various actions related to the unlawful entry and presence of aliens in the United States. Specifically, it addresses the smuggling, transportation, concealment, encouragement, and conspiracy to bring in and harbor unauthorized aliens.
And see, that's this whole thing, and I know it was a great show. We'll see it. And but that's the thing that's most disheartening for the American citizen, is because these people are totally illegal. There is no justification for them to be here unless they come the right way. But how can you be here and you're an illegal and you feel that you have rights?
Okay.
That's what I don't get.
And then they want to pick and choose what rights in the Constitution that they use. I'm like, first of all, you're not even entitled as a citizen. You're not a citizen.
Exactly.
You have no rights to the Constitution. You are under the jurisdiction of a completely different country, but they have been given privileges.
Yes.
And that's different than rights. And I did have someone on my show a couple of weeks back, and he explained, he was like, yeah, there are privileges like the LGBTQ plus crowd, for use them as an example. They've been given privileges. They're not rights, but they'll call them rights. You know what I'm saying? Because they're able to exercise under those privileges, but they're privileges. They're not rights.
And that's the reason why we got a tour coming up, and I'm going to get you involved with this. I'll tell you later on. We just made a decision today. We're going to host something here in Atlanta.
Okay.
A great seminar, and then I want you guys, you and Andre's part of it and all of that. But the American people and patriots across this country, especially Americans who are not familiar with the Constitution, they're not familiar with the clauses and what they mean. And when they took it out of high school, that you had to learn the preamble before in 8th grade, before you
Yeah.
went to high school. We had to learn it and had to recite it. And we knew what the
Yeah.
Constitution meant.
Mhm.
They have taken this type of learning out of the schools and out of the colleges, because we
Yep.
have college people that don't understand. This is something that we are trying to bring back. It says in the Bible, for the lack of knowledge, your people will perish.
Yeah.
Black people, we are perishing because we don't know, do we understand the processes of how this country operates?
Mhm.
We don't understand the rights that we have. We don't understand the Constitution. We don't understand how the government really function. I'm not saying everybody's illiterate, but our children who have come up, who have never been exposed to this type of teaching, it's losing it because they don't understand how things operate. And by the time that they figure it out, it could be too late, because now look at our future. If it wasn't for President Trump getting into office, trying to say we're going to roll this thing back to where we get control of it and give parents their rights back to choose what their kids can learn, we're going to roll this thing back and say that there's only 2 genders that God created. That was a man and a woman.
That's it. That's it. You know, one of the things the judge brought up that was really profound is he said, you know, parents need to get back to doing homework with their children.
Yes.
And really educating their children even beyond what's in school, and put down the tablets, get out in front of the TV and really engage one another. That's what's missing in our society. People keep going, our society's so crazy because we've gotten away from being human. We've gotten away from something very basic. It's called being a human and having humanity towards one another, because the more we get in front of the TV screens and the tablets and all these, we get desensitized, right? And we start really looking at each other as things as opposed to people.
Yes. You know, back in the day, when I was growing up, and probably you too, our parents told us the most important thing on this earth besides God was the life of another human being.
Absolutely.
And the value of life then came down to numbers now. We've allowed the government and insurance companies to tell us, well, you know, you're only worth so much money. Your life is only worth this.
Yep.
And, you know, and that has caused us to be desensitized about living. Because if you can put a number on somebody's life, that's supposed to mean that, well, that life is gone, but the number we gave you was good, so you have to be happy with that. That's a mindset. That's a psychological mindset. But I want to play another clip on Brandon. I got a couple, and then we're gonna play a couple of some of Donald Trump's stuff. But anyway, check this out, Doc.
How many people did you talk to this week? Because like millions last week. Millions, though, right?
Hundreds of thousands, if not.
Okay, so it went down this week.
Questions, comments, likes and shares every time.
Okay.
Guaranteed. It's a good mind. Here's the question that they want to know the answer to.
Thousands of people.
The Department of Justice investigation into your racist hiring practices can very likely result in millions of dollars in damages, and that you and your administration will be personally liable for. Yet your legal response to the Department of Justice is to attack them. It's unhinged. Legal experts that I have talked to say that it's unhinged.
Okay, we're going to get to the question now.
And regular Chicagoans.
Otherwise, we're going to keep moving, sir.
Regular Chicagoans are saying to me that they're concerned about you. That they.
All right, we need the question now. We need the question right now.
There are widespread rumors of your panic attacks. All
right, we're going to keep moving.
And they're concerned.
Here, Charlie.
They're concerned about your mental health, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Look at him. Look at him.
The people of Chicago want to know: are you okay?
I asked that same question about you.
You're
last
trying to
week,
think about what to say.
if you're okay, because it's not clear to me that you are, and I mean this with all sincerity.
He's off script.
I want you to get the help that you need. I do. Seek it. Seek it. Let's move on to the next.
We'll go to Charlie.
That's what came out of that? The response to the
We're going to keep moving.
DOJ?
Thank you, Doc.
Now, wait a minute, Doc. Go ahead now.
See, and first of all, I'm going to talk to the reporter. Reporter, stop. you and reporters do this. They'll like quadruple questions and then be like, you didn't answer my question. Yeah, because you asked 4 questions in one question. Like, stop. What do you specifically want to know? Now, initially, I want to know, like, why are you going back against the DOJ and what are your hiring practices? Now, if he's hiring all Black people, is he hiring all white people? Is he discriminating against people that actually have an education? Like, what is the discriminatory practices, right? Like, let's get into that. Let's dive in,
right,
because here's the deal. When white people want to hire only white people, nobody says anything. When Asian people want to hire only Asian people, nobody says it. Latino, no one says anything when it's any other demographic. If it's a Black person and they put more than 5 people in any positions anywhere, it's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Now, and I don't know his hiring practices.
And I have to agree. I have to agree with you, because it always has been that situation with Black folks. And that's been the problem on why Black people lost the Black community, because they refused to do business with each other. Mm-hmm. That's what's hurting us now. So, see, his situation is, and they're attacking him because he's hiring only Black people, but he only doing that for a symbolic reason. He's only hiring Black people that's going to benefit his cause and keep him covered up. That's why they're coming at him saying it's not the fact that he's hiring Black people, it's the fact that he's hiring Black people who will help him cover up the crimes he's committed. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Understood.
Okay, so that's what this is. But he is really, he's really, I think something's seriously wrong with him. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then we're going to move on.
7 children were shot.
Yeah, he addressed that. He addressed that, sir. Yep.
Yet you and Stacy, your wife, have over 150 sworn police officers protecting you. Why is your life and Stacy's life more important than the children of Chicago, Mr. Mayor?
I want you to get the help that you need, sir. Next.
We're going to keep moving, sir.
You know, a lot of Chicagoans have said that
Please ask the question.
they want this question answered.
That's fine. Just ask the question.
And you interrupting a question that real Chicagoans want to have answered is
Mr. Kelly,
very disrespectful.
Are you okay, sir? Just ask the question.
I'm being interrupted. I'm being interrupted by one of your
Let me just say this
staffers.
one more time. If you don't ask the question, we're going to move on to the next person.
You and your wife Stacy have a 200+ CPD police security detail.
If you could just do me a favor, the next time you refer to my wife, refer to her as the First Lady. I prefer that you not remain so familiar with her that way.
Right.
Okay.
Why are you a racist? How could you possibly think that this is the right time to kick off your re-election campaign? And people are asking me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Citizens are asking me, how could you possibly be thinking of even running for re-election? The people of Chicago tell me that your answers are nothing more than double talk, word salad, pre-scripted PR statements. Is this spending the hundreds of millions of dollars simply an attempt to buy votes?
No.
You say that you're surrounded by the greatest financial minds in the country, yet your vice mayor, who's standing right next to you, Alderman Burnett, is a convicted bank robber. To add insult to injury.
Sir, I need you to ask your question, please.
Yeah, I will. I know you don't like my questions,
no,
but
it's not that I don't like your question. Just ask the question, and let's try to avoid being insensitive as well as dismissive.
I think bank robbery is insensitive, but
ask your question.
That's a difference of opinion, perhaps. Your wife, for example, to add insult to injury, spent 80,000 taxpayer dollars remodeling a, quote, First Lady office. She sits on a $5,000 First Lady chair, yet no one that I've interviewed so far has any idea what she's doing. Yeah. The question, before you cut my mic apparently, is what have you learned, if anything, from Los Angeles Mayor Bass's incompetence?
That was an interesting question, because I would think if he were to answer anything regarding Bass's incompetence, she lost control of her city. She did. It's in complete civil unrest at this point. They have anarchists available. And that is why you see the mounted police. That is why you see the army trucks. That is why you see the influx of ICE regarding mass deportation, because she lost control of her city. It is in an unrested state. And so his question was probably like, that's going to happen in Chicago, and it's already being shown by the violence, the uptick, right? Because obviously when they never mention race, it's probably the illegal immigration that's going on, which is the uptick in violence. And when you showed that video, I want to say we did earlier this week, where everybody in the background, there were no Black people, and they didn't mention anybody Black or white in the actual news
Standing
piece.
with her. Yes.
Yeah,
And,
they
and
won't
it's
do
all,
it.
it's in every group that is standing with her is a Hispanic group. And so, on the down low, a lot of Hispanics wanted to aid and have been aiding and abating the illegals that are here. They've already been doing it because those numbers help them increase their numbers. And everybody think that once I get the numbers that I need, we can control the government. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're gonna put some votes in, but you're not gonna control the government. But it's this whole idea: who's the best race? Who's got the most people? And look at the country; it's tore the hell up.
Yeah.
So
And it's going to take a U.S. attorney, because I asked Judge Joe Brown this question. I was like, well, who can actually enforce, right? Title 8, Section 1324. And he says a U.S. attorney can. So if there is a United States attorney in California, Illinois, and New York, they are the people or individuals that need to bring forth the charges against these mayors and governors that are in violation, clear violation with impunity. Section, Title 8, Section 1324. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. But if you're not doing it, then you're capitulating. And I'm going to find out who these people are, the current ones. I'm going to find out who you are and call your office and be like, what are you doing? Because you could be protecting the citizens of this country and you're not. And the question is why?
They were sworn to protect. When they put their hands on that Bible, they're sworn to, just like the sheriff, to uphold the Constitution and to protect the people of this country if there's constitutional violations. Well, immediately that would make grounds for the sheriff in every blue state to stop the sanctuary cities, because as we see, the sanctuary cities have only caused citizens harm. The trafficking, the killing of kids, more drugs coming in. It's just bad. I'm gonna shoot this thing of Tom and check this out, Doc.
600,000 illegal aliens in this nation with criminal histories walking the streets. We need to find them quickly. And for those that say 3,000 a day is too much, I want to remind them, do the math. We'd have to arrest 7,000 every single day for the remainder of this administration just to catch the ones Biden released in the nation, right? We talk about 12 million illegal aliens. We've been talking about 12 million for 2 decades. We know at least 8 million were released in this country with Joe Biden, so we're well over 20 million. I'm being conservative. So more boots on the ground means we arrest more bad people and make this country safe.
Period.
Doc.
The period. Like, that is a I like him. Because he's just no nonsense, right? He's like, look, we just got to get this done. Now he's got the money to get it done. And guess what? He's getting it done. And they hate it.
Yes.
They despise this man because he's doing his job. It's crazy.
Well, Tom and I became friends about almost 4 years ago. I interviewed him on my show through a friend of mine, Miss Jackie at Truth PR. And he loves this country, but more than anything, he loves the family. He loves children. When I saw him talk about 54 people dying inside of a truck,
I remember.
It was tears in his eyes because he said I was the first one on the scene, and he talked about the little kids who he watched, and he held a couple of them take their last breaths in his arms. So we have a gem in Tom Homan because Tom Homan is not only a true American, but he is a father, he is a husband, and all of those things, and he cares about the family structure, man. So, we've been friends for the last 4 years, and I support whatever that he needs for me to do. I support that. And the American people across this country, now that we see that we have somebody like Tom Homan in office that can now help us to get our country back on track, We just need to support that, and we need to make sure that we do our jobs, because everybody out here have already been deputized by Tom that if you see something going on that's not right, that you know that if there's illegals in your community and you know that, call the number ICE, look it up. It's 1-800-ICE. Look the number up and report it.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, everybody thinks that Tom's against all immigrants. He's not. He wants legal immigration, not illegal immigration. And one of the things that needs to really happen, and I know that Congress probably won't do this, but administratively, we need to shut our border down at least minimum 10 to 15 years to allow people that have already applied for citizenship to follow through with their legal citizenship, but stop this illegal immigration on the paperwork side, on the administrative side, because that's what we're dealing with right now. And he talked about it, he pleaded with, and are constantly pleading with the local law enforcement to keep these people that they get detained so ICE can just go to that detention center and get them from there, as opposed to getting them in the courthouse or getting them at the Home Depots and doing all this thing and putting the general public at risk. Because now it makes it seem like, oh, they're just out there, disappearing people. No, they're not.
No.
Local law enforcement isn't working with ICE. That's why you see a lot of the things that you're saying.
Well, one of the things for sure is that we know for sure that the illegals here are committing crimes and they're doing whatever that they want to do. And that's why I'm telling people we need to understand what we're dealing with, because it could be your daughter that get grabbed out here. And I think we're going to do a show on the prisoner that they brought back, the guy from Maryland. That's what they're calling him. They're lying, saying that he's being mistreated, all of that. We got footage that shows that he's living way better than any black man in the prison system today. So we're going to do that. I want to switch gears real quick. I want to play a video of what the win that meant for President Trump to be able to continue his doge into the federal government.
Another Supreme Court victory for the White House, the court clearing the way for Trump to overhaul the federal government from the inside out. The ruling allows the president's executive order to slash government, downsize agencies, and purge unelected officials. It should save taxpayers billions. Now, for their part, DOJ saying that their cuts have saved almost $200 billion so far. And meanwhile, the Senate considering a $9 billion rescissions package. So, Batia, this looks like, we've kind of gone from looking at a big, beautiful bill and pro-growth to now sort of tackling the spending side of things. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's all turning up Trump, right? He's having a really good week. A lot of the things that the liberals were counting on to sort of stymie him in his attempt to make good on his promise to the American people are falling short. I don't know if you guys saw this, but particularly relevant to me is you don't have to take your shoes off when you go through the airport anymore.
Yay.
Crazy. That's
obviously a smaller thing relative to these massive layoffs. But yeah, one of the things that I think really, really bothers working class people is that if they are not good at their jobs, they get fired. But there's an entire unelected bureaucracy whose job, they see themselves, they've told us this, is to get in the way of a president who is trying to make good on his promises to the American people, and they just get to keep working and working and working. That level of waste, I think, really bothers people who are taxpayers who don't feel that they have a lot left over in the bank at the end of the month. So I
want to stop it right there, Doc.
She's not wrong. Look. So, we can look at the National Weather Service, for example. The Democrats are out there going, oh, yeah, all these jobs. It was 600 jobs out of 4,000. Okay. That's who they got rid of. Now, yes, they need certain people in certain positions to be the lead in those positions, but at the local level in, Kerr County, specifically in Texas, they do not want sirens in their city. That is not the fault of the federal government. That's a local issue.
Now,
so you need to understand if they don't want to do things at the local issue, you can't force them to do it. And the federal government does not have the authorization to just go in and say, you have to put sirens in your county. That's not how this works.
To the American people and patriots across this country, see, they're not telling you the real deal. See, President Trump is only doing what the past presidents have attempted to do.
Right.
When Barack Obama ran, he ran on the fact that there would be less government, that there was so much waste and abuse
Fraud and abuse. Right. He tried to wrangle it in.
And I mean, I'm telling people to go do some research, especially Black Americans. Do research and find out all these people that you hold up in high regards are no more than carpetbagging politicians, gaslighting the people to make them think now all of a sudden what President Trump is doing is illegal. Barack Obama was looking for ways to cut waste, fraud, and abuse out the federal government. Bill Clinton himself, and I was working for the federal government at the time, Bill Clinton created a rift. And if y'all remember, he was shutting down military installations.
A lot of them that never recovered.
Never recovered. He shut down Fort Sheridan in the Chicago area, out in the Highwood area. He shut down so many military installations and associated with the federal government. But the American people didn't see that because
193,000 jobs, y'all. Just want to let you know that.
Yes.
Just saying.
And so what we're seeing here, what President Trump is doing, he's doing what the other previous presidents were unable to do. Because we got all of these people sitting in positions in the federal government, and they're just biding their time. They're not doing anything effective. They're the ones at the water machine. They're eating popcorn and food all day long at their desk. They have a pile of papers on their desk that they're not processing. They're the ones who continue to stymie the government, and we're just wasting money. Because I was part of the cost analysis team with Bill Clinton, and we went around and did cost studies on whether it was more feasible to contract departments out or keep them with all the workers and the benefits. And we contracted a lot of divisions out. So what the Democrats have done is they've embedded all of these people who make the decisions on we should just stay right here when a lot of these areas should be cut because it's a lot of times they duplicate the same agency. They just change the name.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
So
yeah, there's like 2 million jobs roughly that fall under just the executive branch. That doesn't include the legislative branch nor the judicial branch. That's just under the president.
And it should be so. If we are finding all of these bogus jobs in the government for people who, let me say this first. The people who are in the federal government who are civilians, when they make this rift, they're not going to go out on the street. This is not like Ford and General Motors. When they lay people off, they go onto the streets. These people who are going to be replaced, they're going to go to a different division.
That's it. They just move them around.
They move them around. That's it.
Everybody's like, oh no, they're unemployed. And no, they're not.
And that's
no, they're
the
not.
thing. They making it seem like they're going to be thrown out on the streets. They're not going to eat. None of these people will not miss a paycheck.
Nope. They just moved to a different division.
They'll move
so the 14,000 under USAID, they moved to different departments.
Exactly. And they working and they keeping in. Some of them got promotions and all of that. So I think that what they're doing is here, what the Democrats are doing to the American people is they're sowing fear.
Yes, absolutely.
They're sowing fear, and they're also giving these illegals and telling the illegals, hey, it's time to start killing ICE. It's time to start doing this to ICE.
Right. Creating an army of unnecessary individuals because to your point, like the employment rate is going down. It's not going up.
Yes.
So to your point, a lot of these people that were transitioned that's what they were. They were transitioned. They didn't even hit unemployment because it's gone down. Yes. It hasn't gone up. I need people to pay attention to that. Like even CNN is saying that the numbers have gone down.
And they hate the fact that they have to say it, but they have to report the truth now because CNN is a thing of the past. They're a news agency of the past. They showed their hand to the American people with Don Lemon, and when they started pushing the transgender world and the LGBT people, that was their whole mission. So CNN, ABC, all of them have been infiltrated with transgenders and homosexuals and LGBT, and that's why they're not going to report the news. That's why they're not going to break nothing down to you. And if you hear it, you're going to hear it for a second, and then that's going to be it, and you're not going to hear it anymore. I got another clip, Doc, I want to play that we can talk about.
Democrat California Congressman Ro Khanna says middle-class Americans are worse off after Republicans pass the big, beautiful bill. Listen.
In 2017, there was disproportionate benefits for the wealthy, but you're right, everyone got some break. Now, 40% of Americans, if you're working class or middle class, you're actually going to be worse off because you're going to lose health care, you're going to lose food assistance, and the small tax cut isn't going to make up for that. So if you're in the top 50% of Americans, fine. But if you're in the middle class and working class, this bill is actually going to make you worse off. And that's why it's such a cruel policy.
Now,
who is he talking about? Because again, we, the middle class, and that's what I fall into, it's better for us because people that shouldn't be on assistance are no longer going to be there. So my money's not going there, right?
Yes.
And there's going to be more money for us because they actually did an injection and they upped it for Medicaid, for Medicare, for citizens. And they got the illegal people off of there, and they redefined who is legal and who's illegal. And they actually reinserted that 1996 rule stating that if you are here from another country, you cannot be on federal assistance. So they've locked it down.
Yes.
You can't just walk over the border and get assistance, or walk over the border and have a baby and get assistance. You can't do that anymore under this bill. That is why the Democrats are so angry, because that whole voting block that they were depending on is no longer going to be available to them. And they no longer are going to have anything to run off of for those people.
And you're so correct, Doc, because this is my thing. It's every Democrat who are supporting this illegal activity, but they try to spin it on the American people and make the American people think that they're going to lose Medicaid, they're going to lose food stamps, they're going to lose this, and they're going to lose that. To the American people and patriots across this country who use these programs, you are not going to lose anything.
No.
Yes, they did put work requirements in to keep using this program, and it's rightfully so.
Right.
If you're an able-bodied person and you're getting this, and you're in this program, you need to get off your butt and do some work.
Okay.
If you know what I'm saying? And check this out, folks. The work requirements that was added in the big, beautiful bill, they came from Bill Clinton. All they did was reenacted the work, because when Bill Clinton did his overhaul on Medicaid and welfare, all of that, those people on Medicaid who were getting Medicaid and wasn't working, he did. This is his stuff. This is what a Democratic president did to help out Medicaid by getting those people off who were not working, because the moment they came up with these requirements, a lot of people got off because they didn't want to work.
Yeah, exactly. And then they, they figured it out, unfortunately, but then they just kind of rode the tide until they could get back on welfare.
Right.
There is a term called welfare queens, but I'm not going to let corporations off. Yes. I'm not going to let corporations off the hook, because what happens under Republicans is people get these government contracts and then it's just corporate welfare. Same welfare, it's just different. And the numbers are different, right? And so you have to look at both sides. We are spending money, but this bill, what it's doing, it's actually investing in Americans so that it pays off later on. Because if I can get you off the couch and let's say get you a welding certificate, then you can be a welder and you can work for yourself independently, and you don't have to necessarily work for a corporation to be employed. and that money goes back into the economy. That money then is creating a better economy, not just in your city and state, but overall. And that's the whole point of this bill in that particular, part of our economy.
And let me say this. Yesterday, my grandson was over to the house, and one of his friends came by. These were young guys, and every time they come by, I sit and I start talking with them. And this young man said, "Pops, man, I make $39. I make $39 and some change an hour."
Wow.
Now he's only like about 25, right?
Okay, that's good.
And I said, "What kind of work you doing?" He said, "I'm a picker." And what he does is when he gets an order from the company he works for, he gets on a forklift truck, he takes the ticket, he goes out, he finds the products, he bring them down, and he set them to where the people in production can continue to do that work.
Right.
$39 an hour.
That's good.
He's married. He got a family. He's taking care of their kids, just like my grandson. That's what our young men need to be doing.
Hello?
And guess what? They trained him for that position.
Wow.
They gave him, he said, "I've been working 5 years with this company. They gave me an opportunity. They trained me, and now I'm one of the top guys in the company. I love my job." That's what our young men need.
Yeah.
And with the illegals gone, that's what and see that's building. He's able now at $39 an hour. He's able now not only to be a man, but he can take care of his responsibilities that men's supposed to do.
Absolutely. And see, the thing about it is, with the immigration that we have, we just want you here legally, not illegally. There's a difference, because people always want to go, "Oh, you don't like migrants." No, we don't like people here being illegally, because you mess up the economy. Just like y'all running people off from Mexico, right? Because you don't like what the money is doing down there. It's like, okay, then don't come over here.
Well,
Stay in your spot.
that's the
Build up
thing.
your community.
The Mexican government is running away American tourists. They're destroying American businesses down in Mexico now. Now, why haven't they said anything about that?
Look, and what's going to happen is y'all going to start crying about 18 months. I give it 18 months. Because see, there are other places to go visit. Like the Caribbean, they'll enjoy the money. They'll be like, "Okay, you don't have to go to Gulf of Mexico. We will gladly take all of your money over here. Just divert all of your cruises this way." Because when people stop spending money in Mexico, the economy is going to suffer, because a lot of their money comes from tourism. It doesn't come from factories.
I would to the American people and patriots across this country, we need to restore the pride of being an American again.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We need to understand that when we have a situation like this, we need to quit spending our money in states who hate us.
Come on.
Why should we
miss it?
Why should we spend money in Mexico if they hate us and they run our businesses out? Let's shut that border on down. Let all these Mexican businesses get their asses out of the United States. If that's what you want to do, get them out of the United States and let them go home back to their country so that they can make their dollars there.
Yeah.
Because the dollars that the foreigners, whoever they come here legally or illegally, they're taking the money back to their country. They're not reinvesting into America.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these cruise lines, because, my husband and I, that's something we do when we get to, they're going to start seeing a big difference in how people actually book their travel. And when their dollar starts suffering, they're going to start talking to people like, "Hey, you need to get some act right about you, because we don't want to lose money because you're acting crazy."
Well, you know what? I heard something on Steve Harvey and I just had to laugh. The fact of the matter is there are a lot of young Black people now taking cruises, and they're talking about how they're breaking all sorts of rules and, partying a certain way and being disruptive on the cruises and all that kind of stuff, and so the cruise lines now are trying to figure out ways how to contain it. Well, to Black folks, you can't ghettoize every place that you go.
But then again, are those Black Americans? That's the question.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with you.
It really comes down to be like, okay, so who are we talking about? Are these people Black Americans or are they melanated? And you're just assuming they're
Well,
Black
that's I
Americans.
was like I said, I was listening I hardly ever listened to him, but I had to listen to that because I don't do the cruise thing. I'm not gonna be in the water because when I'm ready to get off the boat, I'm ready to get off and go home. I don't want to be way somewhere else and something jumping off. But anyway, I'm gonna finish playing most of this clip, Doc, because I want the American people and patriots across this country to see reality of what's actually happening with the big, beautiful bill and how the Democrats are trying to spin it and create fear to the American people. Here we go, Doc.
Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds joins me now. Congressman, you know, there are a lot of people in that bottom 50% that Ro Khanna was talking at, and I hate to use those words because some of the finest people in America are in the bottom 50%. It makes it sound like it's a bad thing. Some of them are on tips. They're making most of their money on tips. Some of them work overtime and don't get any tax advantages. Now they will. Many people could argue this is a blue collar bill more than it is focusing on the rich folks.
It absolutely is. All we did in the bill when it came to the top income brackets is we kept them consistent. That's what we did. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime actually helps working families and middle class families.
Of course it does.
But I think the piece that Ro was talking about is around Medicaid and SNAP. What we did on those two things is we put work requirements back in. That's common sense policy. And then the other thing we did is we just made sure that there were more eligibility checks. So people who actually are eligible for these programs are on them. That's to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse, something the vast majority of the American people, including those who are on the bottom 50% of the income spectrum in America, support as well. What the Democrats are complaining about is that the insane rate of growth that they put us on, which is fiscally unsustainable, no, we're stopping that. That doesn't mean people who qualify, and that does not mean people who are at the bottom end of the income ladder aren't seeing benefits out of this bill. They absolutely are.
Yeah.
We are favoring working workers in our country. We're favoring people who do a lot of overtime in this country, and we're making sure that illegals and other people who are not eligible are no longer on these programs.
You know, the argument.
There you go, Doc. Now,
Yeah.
That's the real crux of the issue right there.
Mm-hmm.
They made sure that illegals are no longer eligible for these programs. Your thought?
Yeah, and a lot of these changes, because my husband and I were talking about it, they go to 2028, but Congress is also looking at doing something called HR2, so they can extend a lot of the changes that are happening in the big, beautiful bill, and to some, make them permanent, right?
Yes.
So that means under another administration, they can't just end or change certain provisions within the HR1 so that the country can continue to grow. Because we see the debacle that happened with the Inflation Reduction Act. I actually played a video from Jasmine Crockett on my show earlier, and she was talking about it. She was like, yeah, the big, beautiful bill that, you know, there were some things in there that we did, you know, as far as climate change. And there were some things. And she was like, yeah, and those are going to end. Yeah, they do end in 2026. So when she talks about some of the provisions, it's like, yeah, we do need some of that stuff to end because it's not helping anybody. If y'all did something that helped people, they would be okay with it. That bill, all it did was it inflated the debt even more with nothing to resolve it. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Doc, you're so correct because I'm a Medicare advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we go out and we help seniors, you know, pick the plans and we advise them on how to use the benefits and all like that, man. And when the Inflation Act was implemented by the Democrats, they told people, especially seniors, that this was a good bill for them. But in actuality, they lost a lot of benefits from the carriers because the carriers cut out transportation. They cut out that home person coming in. I mean, they almost gutted the plans out. The dental went down, the vision went down to almost nothing. And so the Inflation Act really was against the seniors, but they didn't understand what it was. And so a lot of seniors now know that what the Democrats did with the Inflation Act was took a lot of good benefits from those plans that they needed.
Yes. And that's
very
where a lot of
badly.
this spending in this new bill is coming from. That's the injection, if you look at it. So a lot of things that were lost are now being replaced. And even my husband and I were talking about it. He goes, it seems so unsustainable, the big beautiful bill, because we're spending so much money, but we're spending money to make money. And that does sound very silly, but it's investment money. It's not just money that's going to be blown out of the window. It's money invested in the American people,
Yes.
specifically citizens, not people here illegally that were benefiting. That's the difference.
Yes.
And people really need to look at this bill and look at that. It's like, yeah, there are some people that money's being taken away from, but it was taken away from people illegally that were benefiting from the American people. Now the American people are going to benefit.
And not only that, I keep saying I want the American people and patriots across this country to come into the situations with their eyes wide open when it comes to picking politicians, because if we continue down the road with the Democrats and they've shown their hand in the lies that they've told and how they've deceived people, we automatically know that this country is going to fall. We know that the Democratic Party whole agenda is to destroy this country, to create a class of people in the future who don't ask questions, who cannot read or write. And to y'all out there, listen to me. Y'all kids going to these schools and they don't have a clue on what 12 times 12 is. They don't have a clue on how to have some type of a common sense reasoning to solve problems.
Nope.
That's because it was all made by design, Doc, because they want generations of young people who are ignorant to how the country is ran. They want them ignorant to how the government is ran. They want them ignorant on how to balance a checkbook. They want them ignorant on how to be good men and women. The government is doing that. And I'm so glad President Trump got into office. He can stop all of that now and bring our children back to some kind of place where they can at least learn about cursive writing.
Right. Because you can control people when they're not educated.
Yes.
And the other part, and this is the other disadvantage with not being educated, is that there's more criminal activity when people do not have a proper education.
And as an outreach pastor for Universal Baptist Church, I find that to be one of the most pressing things for our young people. See, when I'm dealing with them out there, a lot of them don't want to be living in cars. They don't want to be living in abandoned buildings.
No.
But think about it. You get kicked out of school because you ain't learning nothing, because they want you to learn how to be a homosexual or a transgender.
Right.
Your mom and dad is unruly. You're unruly to your mom and dad, so you ain't making no money, so you don't have a trade. So what are you going to do?
You're going to go into criminal activity.
Yes.
And then you're easily controlled by the people that are out there pimping you, basically, right? But then you run into the politicians that are doing the same thing. And they're okay with you being a criminal because they know, like, okay, if I can suck you in, basically, you're going to see no way out, and you're just going to continue and perpetuate the cycle of dysfunction. And that's what they want.
And not only that, when you continue the cycle of dysfunction, you're going to end up in jail.
Yeah.
You're going to end up in prison because if you ain't got no place to sleep, you ain't got no money to eat, you ain't got no intelligence to hold a job, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. And now, but the government's okay with that, right? Businesses are okay with that because now they have a good working slave class.
Yes.
So they can use you, right? But you don't have your freedom.
Nope. And listen to this. It's a lot of black families that suffered under Bill Clinton's when he made prisons private. See, that's what black people fail to understand. Bill Clinton made prisons private, so there had to be a structured way for them to keep black men and women going to the prisons because they needed. They made black people a commodity.
Yep, prison pipeline.
And from school to prison. That's how it always been. But to add the icing to the cake, and this is why I was so upset with Black America. I was so upset with Black America when they went and they voted for Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, after Bill Clinton made the prisons private,
Crime Act. Yeah.
and then Joe said, guess what? We're going to make sure that we have a good pipeline of Black people going to jail. And then he turned around with the Ku Klux Klan, Strom Thurmond, all the rest of them. And then they made the crime bill, and they were locking Black men up for spitting on the ground.
I mean, because, you know, even during this past administration, they weren't locking up Latinos.
No, they wasn't.
They were allowing them to be illegal with impunity. With impunity. Okay. And people still, and you're still, as a Black person, caping for this? I'm just trying to be, you know, I'm just saying.
Well, what you're trying to do
happened.
is get a good understanding, and we're trying to show our listeners, especially Black citizens, how we have been so abused with the fact that they put our boys and girls in jails, and they go to jail, they go to solitary confinement, they do all of these bad things to them in jail, and yet when foreigners come over here, they be treated like they're some special people. Like instead of them being thrown in the hole, like your children have been thrown in the hole and not eating and all the rest of that stuff, they're giving them like they're privileged people and giving them great places to sleep and good food to eat. They can go fishing. I mean, it's ridiculous what the man from Maryland experienced as a prisoner, as a
and he's
child trafficker
experiencing that in America, by the way. He's not in El Salvador. He's not in his own country where he should be, because they fought to get him back here just so he could be in jail.
Yeah.
And it's not even jail. It's like Martha Stewart prison. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's Martha Stewart prison. Let me play a little more of this clip, Doc. We can get out of here.
Sure that illegals and other people who are not eligible are no longer on these programs.
You know, the arguments about workfare and requiring people to work for the various benefits they get. I heard the same arguments back in the 1990s when Bill Clinton, a Democrat Bill Clinton, was working with Newt Gingrich for the work requirements for welfare. And as a result of those efforts, we saw welfare rolls go way down. We saw people come out of poverty, particularly children that were in poverty. Over 1 million people came out of poverty as a result of that bill. So they were dead wrong on that. But there's also the stimulative aspect to this bill, which is now law. And I want you to listen to Speaker Johnson talking about that. Roll it.
We've been talking about that publicly and privately for a year and a half. We have always planned to do the first big reconciliation bill, which is the big, beautiful bill. Now it's done a huge leap forward for our priorities. But then also we've been planning a second reconciliation bill for the fall that would be attached to the next fiscal year, and then potentially one in the spring. That's my plan. 3 reconciliations bills before this Congress is over. I think we can do that. And so you'll see more of us advancing these common sense principles to deliver that America First agenda for the people. That's what they elected us to do. And this was a huge leap forward.
Congressman, you're a former businessman. Explain how this could launch our economy into a new sphere.
A number of ways. Number one, tax policy, border stuff, and defense. That was all critical to get done. We got that accomplished. We still have more work we can do in energy reforms so that we can be energy dominant in the United States. An energy dominant America stabilizes prices for working families, for small businesses, allows our economy to continue to thrive. We still have some stuff we need to do around waste, fraud, and abuse. There's no doubt about that. The more that we stop the velocity of borrowing by Washington, D.C., the cheaper credit is for families and for small businesses around the United States. So those are the things that still need to be accomplished. And when we get back to Washington, we're going to be right back to it, doing more work for the future. But I think it's important for my Democrat colleagues to understand one thing. They complain and they whine and they moan about the wealth gap between rich and poor. The way you squeeze the wealth gap is making sure working families keep more of their money, have a thriving economy, have stable energy prices, so their wages rise while inflation is stable. That's how you squeeze the wealth gap. You don't close that gap by just putting out more entitlements and more spending. That's been the Democrat approach. It's always been wrong. Donald Trump's recipe for success is right. That's why we're going to make America great again.
You know, Democrats used to understand that. The phrase "a rising tide lifts all boats" came from John F. Kennedy back in the 1960s. He got it. A lot of Democrats don't these days. Byron Donalds, great to see you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Doc, your thoughts on it, then we got to get out of here.
Well, you can't welfare your way to a great economy. That's all I'm saying. You can't do that. You know, I know people wanted the universal basic income. You can't welfare your way to a better economy, but you can work your way there. And that's what they're doing with the big, beautiful bill. I'm glad that Byron Donalds is there. And he's right. You know, when you're spending less on gas everywhere and we become more energy dominant, that's going to lower the cost of the goods and services that we receive, because you're going to get the break as the consumer when you spend your dollars. So if they're spending $1.90 on gas as opposed to $2.90, that dollar is what's going to be back in your pocket. If you can just look at it that way. Yeah, is it going to be a little bit painful to get there initially? Yes. But once we get there, we're in a better place and our economy is stable. They've been trying to destabilize the United States for a long time, and they're hating it that they can't do it.
They're hating it.
They're really, the globalists are really hating that we're still a strong economy. And with that, you know, when you see all these things occurring, look up for your redemption. It's drawing near, and definitely check out the Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com. We are looking for people to be servants of the people, not just politicians, but candidates that can serve truly in our communities, one community at a time. So definitely check us out at usaredemptionparty.com.
And Doc, you have a great evening, and we'll be talking soon. God bless you, and continue up the good work with your show. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. We need to continue to educate ourselves and educate our children just by our lives. They need to understand who they are and what they're capable of. But more importantly, we need to educate them about the system, how this system operates, what the responsibilities are for politicians, what the responsibilities are of the federal government, what the responsibilities are of the Constitution of America. These things and educational things for our children is what's needed much. And under this big, beautiful bill, which the Democrats have been calling the big, ugly bill, they have been talking about this bill, but they had a chance 4 years ago under the Biden administration, under the Obama administration, to make this country great. All the things that President Trump is doing with the RIF, with the reduction in force with the federal government, is the same thing that Barack Obama talked about, the same thing that Bill Clinton did when he shut down all the Army and Navy installations. All of that was unsuccessful. But under this bill that President Trump has passed, will be successful. We'll cut back the waste, fraud, and abuse. We'll do all the things. We'll get our children back to school to learn about math, science, and how to be good citizens. All of those things are going to return back to America, and that's what's needed. Dollars will come back to the families in this country, and we will make the middle class a class to be proud of again. I say to the American people and patriots across this country, let us continue to support President Trump and the Congress to make this country great again. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.